Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Hello. Hello, David. I can see you in the chat already. Hello. Welcome in. Everyone watching this live, welcome. Hello. Everyone watching this back on YouTube, welcome. Hello. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. As well as welcome to Belt Buckles and Boots stream, where we carry on with the Fire Zouaves. So yeah, hello, welcome in. Chat's already good. So Thomas, hello Blake, and hello David, welcome in. Welcome in, nice and early. I was a minute late because I updated my streaming stuff, and then it I don't know, just didn't want to start the broadcast for some reason. I had to start a broadcast and then go. I don't know what's going on. But hello, welcome in. I assume everyone can hear me. If not, raise your hand. I don't know. Yeah, we're back to it. I was working on something today actually, which I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you in a sec. David beat me to it. And now it's on the hobby table, except researching orders of battle for the Battle of Montenotte, 1796. Which then begs the question: what's everyone working on? Is there anything on the gaming table? Anything on the painting table, gaming table? More importantly, anyone has some games this weekend? What have I been doing in the week? I've been painting some Napoleonic French, but apart from that, I've been doing some hobby-related stuff. I've really crudely chucked together a. This is just for my turntable, so I can show off some miniatures. So I made that today. Robert, welcome in. And then also something else I've been working on, which is a massive work in progress. But let's quickly jump to it, and I'll show you. Bonk. Check it out. So this is my new gaming table, which I'm trying to do a video on, or have a live stream for. I'm going to check that the audio is still there. Also, something else. Let's see if my audio is still there, even though I've swapped to. I assume it is. Yeah, it is. It's working on it. Yeah, so anyway, blank gaming table. But we have a video feed of my game table, which I'm going to replace the camera because the camera is really rubbish. I don't know if you guys can see, but the focus is probably really awful. But yeah. So in the future, hopefully the near future, we will have maybe a live stream on just playing some games. Probably gonna try learn Black Powder rule set, and we'll do that through the American Civil War, because we're obviously currently working on the first Fire Zouaves, and I've already got the 14th Brooklyn painted up, and they were on Henry House Hill together, right? So perfect opportunity to get some of these models on the table. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we're at with the hobby. So yeah. Right, let me just check some stuff before we get into it. Just because my camera's gone funny. There we go, boom. Right, we're down here. Right, okay, back onto it. Everyone's saying audio's good. That's good. My normal audio checker mark is not here tonight. Otherwise, I'm sure they'll be telling me. Thomas, working on some limbers and artillery commands. Very nice. Yeah, I need to get on with some command bases, if I'm honest. The Battle of Montenotte, or I don't know how you pronounce it, I apologise. Napoleon's first battle as top dog chief in, what was it? Yeah, okay. Very nice, cool. Just need the 69th from New York State Militia, Matt. Did reach out to Ian at Flags of War about the flag. Oh, how did that get on? Have they got back to you? I've only just remembered this, but at the start of the week, Flags of War have released a load of flags, new flags for the American Civil War. And I was going to do a little short about it. And I completely forgot, and it's a massive shame because I could have done that. this weekend and put it up, and I completely forgot. Oh well, but yeah, they've done some new flags, so a new bunch of flags, which is nice. I could probably find out, but do you know what? Let's not worry about that now. Yeah, so yeah, I hope they sort out your flag, or if not, I don't know. Perhaps you've got closer in your quest to find it. Right. He said he didn't do custom, but said if they fit in, he would consider them. Haven't heard anything back. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think if he could be swayed to do it through pure interest, then he would do it. From what I don't know, I'm making a complete assumption on a person I've not met. But the fact that they did, like they've released, so Flags of War recently released a load of new flags for the Narrative War, and I think that's because it's a battle or some troops that they themselves were interested in. I think maybe they were gaming or something like that. So yeah, you never know. I think it's very much down to they'll put flags on their website if they, it's just purely down to them being interested. So time will tell. You don't know. Maybe if enough of us pester, it will happen. Lanchnecht, hello from Nashville, Tennessee. Hello, welcome in. How are you? Hope you've had a good weekend. I hope everyone's had a good weekend, everyone, and a good week. As it has been a whole week since we last met. Yeah, I hope everyone's had a good. I've had a good weekend. I feel like nothing's happened, but also I feel like it's flown, and now here we are, Sunday night, ready for work again tomorrow. So who knows? But yeah, so actually, I'll talk a bit about my week. I've just started up a Wednesday night painting club with some of my mates. It's only on Discord, it's only online, so we just sit at our desks painting. But with a couple of my mates who I game with and stuff, and just fired that up really as an excuse to get some painting time in, because I'm pretty rubbish with it. So I think if I add, we get our heads together, socialise, do some painting, I think it's healthy all round for the hobby between me and my mates. So that's it. That's what I've done Wednesday. Yeah, painted up some Napoleon French, and then I've done a bit of hobbying this weekend, just sort of sorting out the loft, sorting the games table out and whatnot. But yeah. So Thomas said also suggested 37th New York, the Irish Rifles. Very nice. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, they get round to it. Obviously, I don't know how much work it is for them to go in and get these flags made. I imagine it's a lot of research, and I've done a fair bit of research on flags for certain units, and some of them are pretty impossible to find much about, which is a shame. Thomas said my week didn't go as planned. Intended to do a lot of minis built up, but ran out of glue Monday, so big week didn't happen. Mate, gutting. So you're all ready to go, and then fell at the first hurdle. I've done the same. I've done the same with primer. Not having any priming. Landschneck drove past Chickamauga Battlefield today. Oh, that's very cool. Did you stop on by, or was it purely a flying visit? Whilst we are talking, I am actually going to get on and paint, because I don't know about you guys, but these guys have gone on for long enough now. This is the 5th video on these guys, I think. 5th live stream. I'm just painting the scabbards on them currently for their bayonets. I'll talk about the paint, because it's good. Right. I'm going to go with Garagax Sewer. I don't know why I struggle to pronounce that. I'm tired. It's Sunday afternoon. Sunday evening. Right. I'm going to go for that, which is like a dark brown. I always used to, with my Confederates, go with Wildwood, which is a dark brown. And my Union, I tend to go black. I'm going to choose this one purely because, Garrick Sewer, purely because I want to. It's a leather colour. It's a nice leather colour. It's one of my new favourite paints at the moment. And I don't know, early war, less uniformity. I think the Union did use black leather for their scabbards. They're bayonet scabbards. They did use black, but I don't know. Maybe early war these guys didn't. I don't think it massively matters. I don't think you're going to massively notice it, but some of these guys do have knives on them as well. So I'll make sure I haven't cleaned this brush off since I dipped it, so it's a bit water. Landschneck, as I passed it on the highway. Sorry, Landschneck says I drive a semi truck. Ah, very cool. Landschneck, as do I when not at university. Oh, we've got a couple of heavy loaders driving in there then. Well, if you're really bored at some point, why not consider put my stream on as you're driving along, and hopefully I don't send you to sleep at the wheel, as that's a serious problem. David, I had a serious session on Friday. Anytime you're drinking Black Sambuca at 2 in the morning, it tends to make the rest of the weekend a little vague. My comment on that's disgusting, David. What are you doing? Black Sambuca, though, used to tickle my fancy. But yeah, no, I wouldn't want to. I don't want hangovers anymore. I don't want them. Do you know what I found recently? I'm actually off drinking at the moment. I have been since November, start of November. But I don't know, the last year or so, maybe I'm getting old, but the last year or so, hangovers just were not enjoyable. They would just leave me wiped for a whole day. Like, I feel a bit sick, but mainly I would just feel really tired. It's obvious that I just wasn't sleeping well when drinking. And then, yeah, I just feel rotten the whole, and it was just really unenjoyable, and it would annoy me because it would ruin a perfectly good day. So, yeah, I've kind of just not doing that right now. Do I feel better for it? I don't know. I do like a drink, and it's very rare that I would drink too much to feel horrible about. But yeah, just for now. I've got other things I need to prioritise. And I've got no problem not drinking. I do like a drink, but I'm happy to just have soft drinks. It guarantees me not feeling rubbish the day after. And you can always guarantee the day I need to not feel rubbish is the day my daughter's going to play up and be intense all day. So, last week I drove past the Shiloh battlefield. Oh, very cool. I drive all around Ireland and occasionally in the UK. Ah, very nice. Landschneck, David said, I'm very jealous of Landschneck, especially the way the US preserves its battlefields. Yeah, I must admit, it's something I do intend on. I do want to visit some battlefields. Yeah, they've preservation. They've done a good job, and they're still doing a good job of it. They're still acquiring land at the moment to save and preserve, which is wonderful. As it's very interesting. It's very interesting to learn about it. What I'm gonna try do on these models. So at the moment, all the canteen straps I've painted white, or I'm in the process of painting white. So I might chuck in some brown straps in and around it and places, just to break it up a bit. And I've taken some. So I've went a couple of weeks ago. I was looking at piano war games and Napoleonic French, and I especially like how they've painted them on the website on there. So I kind of stealing ideas, like I guess we all do. You know, you see how people paint stuff and go, oh, I quite like that. I'm going to pinch it. And some have had like white straps to the canteen, or you know, any of their pouches. Some have browns, some have colours of different colours. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pinch that. It's a bit like I did when I saw some Perry's Confederates painted up, where they painted the cartridge boxes brown, rather than black, and I just like that, and I copied it. I don't know how historically accurate it is. Knowing the Perrys, you'd imagine it they would have done it for a reason. Unless they did it for Rule of Cool, then I'm behind that, because I'm happy to do Rule of Cool as well. Yeah. As you go, you just pick up nice little ideas from different people and adjust your painting scheme to adopt it. Thomas, luckily I luckily don't take hangovers. Might be because of my youth or because I tend to stick to beer, mostly Guinness, occasionally cider. I don't know. I never hangovers weren't really an issue for me, but it's just in the last couple of years, and I don't know, maybe I'm just less patient with them. You know, I find my weekends so precious at the moment. So to kind of write off a whole weekend because I'm feeling crap, it annoys me, winds me up. A couple of months ago, Landsat says, a couple of months ago, I drove past Kings Mountain battlefield and was able to stop to see the Cowpens battlefield for some American War of Independence fun. That is very cool, mate. That is very cool. Yeah, I've not really done so many English, let's say British battlefields. I think I did Culloden when I was a lot younger. But yeah, me and my brother are actually looking at doing a European battlefield tour next year. So to probably be World War II stuff. I think we'll do Waterloo just because I did go to Waterloo actually when I was a child, but wasn't really interested in the period at the time, so it was probably wasted on me. I have a unit of Confederates painted with white cartridge boxes. My first Virginia regulars. Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's a cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to do whatever. You know, I'd like to know. I assume you've done. You know, you've seen that they did have them, or did you just go for it because you like the look of it? Because I guess as well. I'm saying that the Napoleonic French I'm painting at the moment, they have black cartridge boxes, but if other wars had them, then it could leak into sort of stuff. Dave says, Sir, one is never too old to miss pay. I'm 63, rock night, then drinking with a group of youngsters keeps me young. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling the call to be young at the moment. I'm like I'm an old man at the moment. I don't know. I might bounce back. I've got another hobby. Live action role playing, which is I do 4 times a year with some good friends, and that tended to be when I had to have a blowout. You know, I'd drink a bit that weekend because I was away from the family, so I didn't have to worry about being a dad. I could just vegetate hungover on the weekends that I go away, but even now, I'm at a point now where I don't want to feel rotten all weekend. So I'll yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know yet. It's a I don't know, just at a point at the moment. I'm not thinking about drinking at the moment, but I'm sure it'll come back around. I've somehow missed the bottom of this back. Did I paint this guy? I did. Ah, cool. Right. So that is all there. Scabbards done, and some of their some of them have got like Bowie knives. Weekend in York, you can take in multiple battlefields in a few days. Oh yeah. I really want to do a battle of Tewkesbury as well. I want to go there. York would be a good one. Tom says I've done most of the Irish battlefields as well as Culloden, and some in Europe. For white, they seemingly had white canvas equipment. So, yeah, I know. Some people paint, both sides with sort of white shoulder bags, which I need to do more of, to be honest, because it does look nice. Landschneck, LARPing. I used to do SCA. What's SCA? I'm not sure what that means. But yeah, I do LARPing 4 times a year. Which it's a medieval fantasy. That where are we? That is actually an outfit I'm working on at the moment behind me for my character. Yeah, I do like a medieval fantasy type thing. So yeah, it's really really good fun. It does take up a lot of time though. That's why like when LARP season, which is April to September, starts, I tend hobbying tends to drop off because that takes up all my focus. Right, I'm gonna go in and do all their hair next. I'll do their hair and then I'm gonna go in and do white. For any of the belt, any of the like straps and stuff that I've painted over by accident. And naturally, all these guys will be chosen chaps, and they'll be brunette because all my army are brunette. Not all of them actually. There are some models that I've done with blonde and ginger. Just me being lazy and not wanting to change between paints. I swear these sculpted heads are very similar to the plastic the plastic Zouave heads. I don't know whether they've just copied the. They look very similar. It's funny. Anyway. I'm hoping to go to York for Wagner Attack, the first show of the year. Anybody else got plans to take in any shows? I've not got any plans this year for shows, to be honest. I don't know of many ones local to me, really. And like I said, I do Salute again, but that tends to fall on my daughter's birthday weekend, so. So if they had, if it ever gets moved, then I'll be up for doing that again. So I found that was a good show. Dum, 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 dum. I'm actually excited to get these guys on the table. I would like to get my camera set up on the table properly first, because I think whilst I'm learning the rules for Black Powder, I might just do some sort of midweek stream, perhaps. You know, just spend a couple of hours trying to play my way through rules, and then if I do it as a stream format, and people might come in and help me. And then I can just play through some scenarios. With some of the models. You can have the first, or the Louisiana Tigers. We can have them in a scenario as well. For we did a couple of first ball run scenarios. Henry House Hill can be one of them, and we can have the Zouaves. Can't remember what that little bit was. Just like a bridge crossing, wasn't it? I think, am I right in thinking Longstreet was involved around there? Hair colour, a base coat and a wash can easily give you a variety. My 6mm ACW guys have lots of different shades of hair colour. Yeah, I used to do it. I used to do different shades. Just, I don't know. I just don't want to at the moment. Especially with contrast, it's easily achievable. I don't know. They're all brunettes at the moment. Because yeah, I've done back when I was in my old painting scheme, I would do blondes and black, brown. Yeah, just doing that. Matches a bit skew. The Stone Bridge at Manassas was Nathan Shanks Evans' Demi Brigade against Colonel William T. Sherman. Yeah, Evans was a. He sounded a bit of a aggressive commander, from what I understand. But yeah. Yeah, I just need to work on getting some command bases done as well, to be honest. But I think definitely next set of streams will be painting up some command bases. We'll do probably a Union divisional, Union divisional command, maybe a Confederate divisional command, perhaps, or maybe Confederate, just a couple of brigade commands. Thinking out of my Confederates, I can squeeze out a divisional command already. Whereas to be honest, my Union, I've got a big plan for all my command bases. And what I'm lacking is a divisional command for Wadsworth at Gettysburg. So with my new Warlord Games command sets, which come in 4 miniatures, I think that'll be perfect for a divisional command. Oh. I'll probably chuck all 4 on the same base, I think. Yes, unless I make them core commands. I do want to try differentiate my divisional and core command, and the plan was to do that through map figures on the base. But with Union, it's a little bit different because I'll be using core flags, so it doesn't matter as much because I'll just have the flag which denotes what rank they are. So it'll start at like 2 models for brigade command. So I'll have a brigade commander as well as a flag bearer. And then divisional would be 3. Yeah, I guess divisional 3 and then core 4. So yeah, we'll think about it. We'll think about it. I kind of want to keep the 4-man general pack from Wall of Games. I want to keep that on one base because I wouldn't mind doing a little video about it, just showing them off. And it'd be nice to have them all on the same base. Because also, what I'm doing, I don't think I'll be going above core command. If I do it, it'll be a special occasion, so... And if I'm going to have a core commander, I want it to be... first core. Name slips Reynolds. I want to do him. So. Longstreet was a brigade commander under Beauregard at First Manassas. I fought the battle several times in 6-mil. Yeah, I think it'd be cool to have. I got a soft spot for Beauregard. I think he's cool. I've got actually 2 models of him somewhere. I bought a metal one from, I want to say Crusader or something like that, and then I've got a 3D printed one from Studio Historia. I just like it, the fact that they often model him with epaulets and stuff. I think that just looks cool. Give him a red kepi with golden epaulets and. What I can do as well for brigade command, don't necessarily have them all on horseback as well. We could have some dismounted ones. That's something else I need to work on as well, some dismounted cavalry. Because I've got some dismounted cavalry, but I need command stands for. My group rules have base separately, but 1 for a brigade, 2 for a division, 3 for corps, and 4 for army. Alternative for smaller games, 1 for a regiment. Yeah, the reason why I'm going to go for 2 for a brigade is because I want flags on my brigade, on my command bases. So if you just went for 1 miniature, then it would just be the officer themselves. So that's why I'm going for that, just because I want flags. I just really like the flags on the table, and I want to get as much on there as I can. So I'm going to put in flags where I can. And that means, yeah, brigade flags when and where I can. As for the Confederates, I don't really know, unless I know of actual brigade flags. I'll probably just chuck down, as it's Army of Northern Virginia, which I'm doing. Probably just chuck down Army of Northern Virginia flags, and then like I know Longstreet and Lee had their own battle flags. And stuff like that. Some of the divisional commanders did, so I would probably get them. But as for the Union, for example, like the Corps, if I'm going out for corps, so far I'm doing 1st Corps, 1st Division, 1st Brigade, so I can put all those flags in. And again, I don't know, I think if I were to do a battle, like, yeah, I might want to have another division under 1st Corps, but I can still just do 1st Corps. Yeah, I think a Corps is more than enough. It would be nice to do another Corps or something like that, but I don't need to. And at the moment, I don't have the miniatures to back it up. Like, most of my miniatures are... So obviously, I could just chuck anything in there and just... I don't need to historically... Or I don't need to be accurate with the actual units that I painted up. I could just use my collection. But, yeah... yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I still need to do the commands. It'd be nice to have the command flags, right? So, yeah, it'd be nice to do that. Either way, I've got a lot of command bases to be getting on with. I've got a big box of the Union ones, especially. I've boxed them all up because I kind of sorted out all the spare figures I've got that I can make into commands. So I've kind of got them ready to go. I just need to stick them down, paint them, and then get on with it. Alright, I don't know why. Cool. I think that's hair done, yep. We've based our models around early 1816 before the introduction of call flags. Yeah, the reason why I'm going for call flags is I really like the look of call flags. I just love the look of them. So that's why I'm happy to do that. Obviously, if you're not that fussed about them, then yeah, it makes sense to not include them. But I personally just like the look of them. And again, it's the idea of having these flags on the table just look really cool. I wish there was like maybe more variation in the Army of Northern Virginia, sort of mid to late war. Because yeah, it's kind of a shame just to have the cross for all of them, or the majority of them. But this is what it is. Best thing about Beauregard was the most southern name of the war. Yes, Pierre Pont Gustave Justin Beauregard. Yeah, Justin. He was very cool sounding name. Creole, is that what they call him? Creole. But yeah, he was cool. Shame, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about him, but just to me, I feel like he never really got his teeth into the war because he kept falling ill, didn't he? So he had like Shiloh, where maybe he made the right decision. Maybe he didn't. Yeah, it's hard to say. Let's see if I oh. Oh, yeah, here we go. I'll tell you what's going on this one. I don't know what I'm doing. This is my Studio Historia one. So I'll probably use him as my Empire. He lost his nerve at Shiloh. Yeah, I would probably say understandably lost his nerve. But yeah, but then I don't know, it's Shiloh was a tricky one, I think. All the battles are, aren't they? So it's easy to comment on it. But yeah, I think it's an interesting. I can't think who was saying about it, but you know, we have the hindsight of knowing what happened in that battle. But also, battles themselves aren't in a vacuum. You know, there's the grand thing of it. So yes, he lost his nerve at Shiloh, but was he thinking more than just Shiloh? Was he thinking the loss of the army at Shiloh? If the Confederates lost the army at Shiloh, then they would have lost Corinth, right? And they were there to defend, even though they still did. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think, like, for example, those of you out there who play big campaigns and stuff in this period or similar periods, then all of a sudden you can't just have a bloodbath every battle. You need to think about your armies and keeping them together. You know, you could argue the same about Antietam or potentially Gettysburg as well. I know they say both armies were sort of broken after Gettysburg, so hence Meade didn't pursue. But yeah, it's a bit like that really. That you couldn't. It's so hard once momentum was lost at Shiloh. How was Beauregard sure they could win the day? And if there was any doubt, they would probably have rather secured the survival of the army. And then we know the Union had reinforcements coming in. I don't know if the Confederates did at the time. So, yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. It's like there's so many points in the war where they were on the cusp, literally on the cusp of achieving that goal, and then Albert Sidney Johnston gets shot and dies, and then everything just crashes to a halt. So yeah. David said, Corps flags are cool. I have enough spare Union Corps commander bases to do all of the Army Potomac Corps. Very nice. That's really cool. Yeah, I just think they look great. I don't know where my Corps flags are at the moment. Hopefully they're safe somewhere and not getting water damage like the last lot did. But yeah, I just like the look of them and I want to get them on the table. Pardon me. Oh, a bit tired. Yeah, Liam Mail have done a really nice job over at Battle Bunker HQ. With their core flags and stuff, they look great. And I've played a game with them, and having them on the table was really cool. So yeah, I want to try do it where I can. If I'm doing a battle and I'll do a divisional level, you know, I can have 2 brigades with 2 brigade commands and a divisional command and a divisional flags. It would look cool, I think. There's one reason my group made custom rules, because it makes you think and means every game in the campaign isn't a bloodbath, says Thomas. Yeah, 100%, mate. And that's that sort of thinking I quite like, you know. I find it so hard to immerse myself in a game sometimes when it is all, you know, battlefield points or objectives on a battlefield. And I think, yes, objectives on a battlefield should be there because those objectives on the battlefield are the objectives to win the battlefield. And to win the battlefield is to win something in the larger campaign. But still, yeah, you got to think about, especially let's talk about some of these armies that really, some of these armies, I guess with Shiloh, Albert Sidney Johnston, right, was sitting in Corinth waiting for the Union to attack. Grant to come in and attack, but then they took the initiative and hit Grant first. Ultimately, they were still there to defend Corinth, right? So, yeah, they've bloodied Grant's nose, but they still need an army at the end of it to defend their main objective. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's fun to think about like that, though. I think. But I need to find this officer for first bull run a minute. I want to know if he's got a blue trim on his hat. I think he does. But yeah, again, it's not. These battles aren't fought in a vacuum. Which I think, if you're going to game it, it can make for a bit of fun. The thing is, almost no battles were fought to the last man. It just wasn't a thing, unlike many war games. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, preservation of command, I think, is very important. And that's win or losing a battle, right? If you can see the writings on the wall, you might as well get out whilst you can with as much of your army as you can. Rather than just blowing it to pieces for something that, you know, I guess, like, it's kind of a cool, it's like, let's say talking battle, like war game and tabletop, doing a battle, right, where, for example, if you're on a campaign and you've been outmaneuvered and the enemy's attacked you and you don't want to be attacked, then perhaps your objective on the table is you need to hold X amount of turns whilst, because you're playing a rearguard action whilst your army's loading up and getting out. And you could have an objective like that where the defending army, they just want to get off the table. They, they're going to delay as much as they can, but they still need to hold the army together. And it's sort of stuff like that, I think, if you're playing a campaign system. Then yeah, you can kind of, you don't want to, but then also, like in history, if you were playing a campaign where you're trying to reserve your army, then all of a sudden you can fall into a trap of being too cautious, and then fortune favors the brave. You'll have an army commander come in who's just really aggressive, and because you're like, oh no, I need to keep my army together, you might play really passive. This aggressive commander's going to get what they want, and that, like in history, and it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. Grant is a good example, I think. Right. So Shiloh was already a bloodbath at the time the rebels stopped on the first day. They even had momentum. I think they had momentum. They just, again, I guess early-ish war, having not so experienced commanders in brigade or divisional level, obviously losing army command, put everything into confusion. And I think it's underestimated how long it can take a group of unorganized troops to reorganize. And I think that's maybe where you had the second day. They just lost momentum because, it's a hard thing to maintain that momentum, especially over a night of not fighting, really. They didn't have an army at that point, but could have shoved Grant's army off Pittsburgh Landing. Thomas says, for example, in our rule set, if you lose your artillery numbers, you lose the ability to resupply your cannons and cannot shoot them. Reserves mean everything. Also, David says, also pursuit is rarely gained. Yeah. I think, if you were playing a game and you defeat an enemy, then again, how an enemy is beaten could, like, for example, if you know you're going to lose a scenario, you're not just going to turn tail and run. You're going to want to try, tactically retreat. Otherwise, you open yourself up to pursuit. It depends on what era you're in, but then that's when the cavalry go and make a mess, isn't it? So you want to try avoid that, right? Let's paint white. Let's get on with this. You're refighting a battle. Or you're refighting a battle where you're assigned rearguard. Yeah, that's what I was saying, like a little bit earlier, like saying about you were playing a battle, then maybe you're the rearguard and you're trying to hold off enemy. So you just want to hold them off for X amount of turns whilst your main bulk get away or something like that. Yeah, it's again, I think this is something a campaign lends itself to. You can have these sort of actions because they fit narratively into your. Because I guess if you were to turn up on a Wednesday night games night and go, oh, what we're playing? Oh, we're playing this near impossible scenario where you've just got to stop me for 5 turns whilst I throw, whilst I'm being. Probably might not be as fun. But in the if you were playing a scenario like a campaign and then that's the battle for you, then all of a sudden it means a lot more to hold the rear guard to hold, and then it might mean a bit more to an attacker who's really wants to affect this retreat of this army because it affects the overall campaign. So I guess it gives different what's the term? It gives more reason. But I guess each scenario has more weight. Each battle then carries more weight because it affects an overall campaign. And just everything's a bit more has more weight to it, You know, some people might not like it, but I think it's a cool idea. I always take the rear guard in games mainly because I can make great use of special rule for my troops, but it does also mean I alternatively ended up mauled. Yeah. I guess if you're rear guarding in a game, you want to make yourself scared because again, like an attacking player who's got a defending player on the ropes. You could argue it's when an attacking player might be at their most vulnerable. You know, if they storm off trying to catch out a retreating enemy, they can quite easily and quickly put themselves at risk. So, and as someone playing a rearguard action, you can almost try and make the most of that. You know, yes, they've beaten you and they're pushing you off the field, but you can still upset things by causing casualties, and especially in something like the Napoleonics. You know, if they're a bit reckless with their cavalry unit, you can take the opportunity to remove a cavalry unit from the campaign. No longer cause you trouble in the future battles if you get rid of it. Just through them being overextended and being a bit careless. So, yeah. Shiloh, it must have almost impossible to know who was winning. It was basically fought in a forest. Yeah, yeah. It's the fog of war, as it were. It's which again, then you know, it's you look at Beauregard, and we talk about him being, you know, not very or very hesitant. Again, he doesn't know who's winning. He doesn't know the state of his own troops, let alone the enemy's troops. So you kind of understand him being that just too cautious. You know, and that's the job of a army commander. At the end of the second day, Grant wasn't able to pursue because he lacked effective cavalry, and the rebels had Nathan Bedford Forest with fresh cavalry to defend the rebel army's retreat. There you go, which is a good sort of example onto campaign actions and stuff. The skill in asymmetric war is setting up the scenario. Exactly. You don't. I don't want an even scenario, but then also I don't want one side to be heavily advantaged. So it's trying to find the sweet spot. But again, if you're playing a campaign, you kind of less worry about that because you're always going to be playing these more historically accurate battles because they're real battles. You know, if you've gone and outmaneuvered your enemy and you outnumber them 2-1, then that's the skill of the campaign battle. You know, but then there's a good chance I'll do it to you. So, but yeah. It almost makes the campaign maneuver and movement a game in itself. Which is interesting. It might make for the actual battle not as fun. You know, the main game's played in the campaign, but then there's different. Another way of looking at it is if you're a defending army and you're kind of up against it, then when you draw battlefield objectives, you can kind of maybe draw them to benefit the player who's got a harder, or you know, if you have no chance against an enemy in a shooting match, then you can make the game not about that. You know, you can make your objectives not about that. Yeah. So at Marengo, Napoleon lost the battle in the morning. Then Dasik's fresh troops arrived.
Yeah, that's another element as well you can add to these sort of campaign games, or games in general, is sort of reserve troops. You know, you might want to get this army off the table ASAP because you know they've got a core turning up in 5 turns, and then that can affect how you which, like you said, it's down to scenario writing. I'd be interested to see how people handle that. Like, if you're playing a campaign system where you've got troops on the march at all times and you jump into a battle that lasts 2 days, you know, do you have it where if an army's within a day's march, they can join in? And if so, how's that work? That's a cool concept.
French won the battle in the afternoon, yeah. Is it Dasik's? Yeah.
Trying to think. Is it Davou? Where did he fight? I know the name. I just can't
Link a battle to. All right. The village core.
I'm touching up these white lines and then going to hit them with a wash and then have to do it all again. But actually, we'll see how it comes out.
Right. We're getting close. We are sort of getting close. I do something akin to that. If the troops are within the sound of the guns, or if the army commander sends a message to other commanders, they can bring armies onto the battlefield until someone breaks.
I guess if you're doing campaign movements, then yeah, I guess you have a measurement on the map of how. I guess when you start a battle, perhaps you can see if your commanders react to the, like I said, march to the sounds of the guns, and then that, you know, they just pick a direct route and start marching, and then if they get there in time, they do, and if not, the battle finishes before they get there, then they've just marched all that way for nothing. Interesting concept though, I like it.
All right. That's them. So I think what I'll do next is I'm going to paint this off as I can't think what colour I was going to go with. For the Battle of Antietam, Little Mac was given the rebels operation orders and didn't have a crushing victory. Yeah. Well, that says more about Mac, I think. Lennon. I think he I think he was honest. He was confident with it. He just lacked. I don't know. In fact, I don't know. McClellan's a weird one. You always hear that he often thought he was outnumbered by the Confederates. That's why he never really attacked and pushed when he had the army. But then maybe this is just down to being you know, he lacked, maybe you could say he lacked combat experience at that level. And then yeah, like, you know, he built the army of the Potomac to be an impressive thing, and it got broken to pieces at Antietam, and he was, I think, genuinely devastated by it. And that's probably why he didn't pursue and let Lee leave, you know. He just in just heartbreak about the army. And something similar with like Meade, you know, at Gettysburg. His army was broken and he knew it, and he I think, well, I don't think he was heartbroken, and that's why he didn't push. But you know, Meade knew the army was in a bad way and couldn't push with it. I need a Davout. Hang on. All retreats on the field. Longest battle was 4 days. Started. Oh, okay. So the armies on your campaign can get called in. Yeah. So either an army gets beaten or retreats on the field. The longest battle was 4 days. Started with 3 brigades, 2 Confederates and 1 US. Ended up on day 4 with 9 divisions engaged, 4 Confederates and 5 US. That's massive. Yeah, that's a cool concept though, because yeah, like, I guess you could argue same with Gettysburg, right? They bumped into each other and they just piled in. Davout was the victor of Auerstadt, fought simultaneously with Jena. Napoleon beat the Prussian rearguard, but Davout, despite being heavily outnumbered, beat the main army with his single 3rd Corps. Before the Battle of Big Black River, Grant intercepted the rebel orders and picked apart the Confederates, forcing them to retreat to Vicksburg. Another thing to consider at Antietam, Little Mac lost a lot of high-level commanders. I think that's the big thing, and you see it with the Confederates as well at points. You know, they lose these big commanders. Oh, I don't know if this is the right colour I want to be using. They lose big, high-ranking commanders, and then, you know, I guess it's sort of in place. You know, the brigade commander will go up, but you know, you potentially have an army commander after a big battle. Now they've got to rejig all their divisions because they've lost commanders. So yeah, and then you wonder why they can't just quickly, you know, jump off the mark to chase an army down. You know, and again, going back to Gettysburg, you know, I think they make a point that Meade won the battle, but he's as beat up as Lee. You know, he's still got to reform his army and piece it back together. You think like what 1st Corps was hit heavy. You think about Dan Sickles' Corps smashed. So yeah, you got, I guess even Hancock's Corps pretty beat up as well. Am I fair to say that? As well as 11th Corps. So yeah, you think that he was in a bad way after that battle. So And these commanders have got to try salvage something together. And so let's again talking about how you're trying to keep your army together. Say Gettysburg happened, Meade's his army's bleeding out, Lee runs off, so Meade's like, no, we got to pursue. I can scramble 3 corps together, send them after Lee, and then imagine if they bumped into Lee turn around and smash 3 corps or however what he can assemble. They're just not effective enough, and Meade loses. He goes from having 3 or 4 corps incapacitated at Gettysburg to end up having his whole army in disarray because he pushed with a disoriented army. So yeah, it's a bit like that. It's proof in the history, right? Devil in detail. So yeah, also seen at Gettysburg with the Confederates, Pickett lost all commanders from his division. Hancock's 1st Division lost all but 1 brigade commander. That's the crazy thing with the American Civil War. It's just these high officers dying, divisional commanders dying. These guys were organising a lot of troops. And you think Hood at Gettysburg. He gets knocked out day 1. Day 1? Day 2. So yeah, if you think about that, it's some of these guys, if they didn't, and then that just affects everything. Because then, you look at, let's say Hood, he's an aggressive commander, wants to go at, he wants to do what he wants. He gets knocked out, and then you put another commander in there who just isn't up for the challenge. All of a sudden, you've got this division that's almost pacified because they haven't got a competent commander. And especially in as an important battle as Gettysburg, interesting. Meade was only doing what his peers did prior to Gettysburg. The Army of the Potomac never followed up until Grant showed up. True, but I don't know. Maybe I'm defending Meade. I think Meade had perfect reasons to not at Gettysburg. I don't think his army could have done. Whereas Grant had that cutthroat. But then, if you look historically at Grant's campaign, like, he arguably bled the Army of the Potomac pretty hard. And yes, in the grand tactical campaign situation, he was winning. But I think if you on that smaller scale, he was doing a lot of damage to the Army of the Potomac. But then Grant knew that. I think Grant knew what he had to do. So yeah, it's interesting. Right, let's get on the silver. Yeah, exactly. Lee did. Lee was playing a gentleman's war, and I think Grant came up and said, "No, I know what it is to win this. I'm gonna play dirty and not dirty, but I always think Grant was quite industrial in how he commanded. And I think when you think about the North, that's what they had on their side, was industry. And yeah, he just played to the North's strengths. You kind of look at it in America during World War II, The Americans knew they could produce Germany, and that's what they did. Lincoln, in a letter to Meade after Gettysburg, he said that he was annoyed that Meade didn't follow Lee, but understood why he didn't. Yeah, I just don't think Meade could have.
And yeah, again, yeah, you think, talk about Hancock, right? Hancock's corps losing all but one brigade commanders. I guess after Gettysburg, right? Let's look at what corps Meade had at his disposal that was effective. You could say Hancock's corps was Hancock was one of the better commanders, or Hancock's wounded, right? Who's his other good commander? Well, it's Reynolds. Reynolds dead. Who else have you got? Howard. But then what's his corps looking like? I just think, yeah, the Army of the Potomac was beat up. It was in a bad place, and I just don't know what people would have expected them to do without risking the army being wiped out. I get you could argue that Lee was in a really bad place, and I don't think Lee would have been able to really do much against Meade if he did push. But Meade still got to get like thousands of troops back together after one of the biggest battles. Yeah, it's a impossible task. And again, I think if it was in Meade's capacity to do so, I think he probably would have done it.
It's hard to say. Meade's orders were different to Grant's. Meade had to protect Washington and Baltimore. Grant was giving free. Yeah, true. The reason why Meade was there was because they were shadowing Lee, right? Whereas when you look at Grant, Grant's job was to go after Lee, to wipe out Lee. Whereas Meade was there to shadow Lee to stop him attacking Washington. So MacArthur was the most successful general America had during World War II. You don't rate Patton at all?
Thomas?
Sorry, Landsknecht. Thomas, of Second Corps, all commanders are wounded or killed except Kelly, Caldwell, Hall, Hayes, Harrow, and Carroll.
Yeah, so could you argue that Second Corps was pretty disorientated after the battle, you know? It takes a very formidable or a very good army to suffer that sort of casualty rate and then be able to just put their boots back on and off they go and do something. You know, there's gonna be a bit of time whilst they piece themselves back together, right? Patton was a loose cannon. I think it might be an understatement, but yeah, no. I've not actually seen the film Patton. I've seen lots of stuff about it recently, and I'm half tempted to watch it. I've seen the one with MacArthur. Is that is it Tommy Lee Jones? I want to say it isn't. I've seen that one.
Sedgwick commanded the freshest corps, 6th Corps. Slocum and the 12th were battered but reasonably okay. 2, maybe 1.5 corps available to pursue. Yeah, obviously, and again, we know what the condition Lee was in. We know what condition Lee was in at the end of Gettysburg. But Meade probably didn't. He had an idea of it, but he didn't. So is he going to send
2 corps chasing down Lee. You know, and I haven't looked at the numbers of what was left of Lee's army after Gettysburg, but if they could piece together a Confederate corps under Longstreet, and yeah, they got chased down by 2 Union corps, but you know, Confederates have picked the battlefield and they go on the defensive. Is 2 Union corps going to be up for taking the Confederates in a defensive position after fighting the Battle of Gettysburg? I think not. I think that's a tall ask. Obviously, the Confederates have to defend it after fighting at Gettysburg, but yeah, they could have potentially gone and butted heads again, had another stalemate, and then Meade's depleted what's left of his fresh cause. So yeah, no, it's a good point. It's just done what you could. On the Second Corps at Gettysburg, I tend to sum it up with this quote from the time. When told the Second Corps was to be in reserve, an Irish soldier piped up and said, "Aye, for the hardest of the fighting." Yeah. And boy, did they. I believe most of the talented general the British had was William Slim during World War II. Yeah, I'm not clued up on the World War II generals, to be honest. Probably should be, but I'm not. What I have read about the British during World War II, I find frustrating. Obviously, British war doctrine at the time was a certain way. And again, this is, I think, why a lot of the Americans butted heads. A lot of the American top brass butted heads with the British because they... I can't remember. I think it was a quote from some American general. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Patton. And basically just saying how the British planned for everything. When they were planning an operation or whatever, they just they planned and they planned and they planned and they planned. Whereas the Americans very much wanted to just go in guns a-blazing, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But yeah, the British would plan it to death. But I think... So it frustrated a lot of American generals because they just wanted to get them on to do it. But then also I think they admitted that the British did it right, if a plan needed coming up, the British were the ones to do it. I have to try find the quote. I remember thinking it was a funny quote because he was almost like, they're bloody annoying because they plan so much, but by God, can they form a plan? Oh, we are slow and steady getting through it. I'm just getting to the point now. And just, I never actually said. I'm painting the metal at the moment. That's Citadel, Ned Belcher, whatever the label is. If it zooms in, it's not. So yeah, I'm just going to do all the gun bits there. I'm basically prepping myself to go in with a Nuln wash, and what I'm going to put the Nuln wash on is the white straps, the metallics, and that's probably it. So I'm on the stage now of doing the metallics. So that's the silver, the gun metal for the barrels and the bayonets, and the swords and stuff on the officer, and then I'll come in and do all the gold buttons, which I'll do the gold buttons on all the shirts and stuff because I've said before I just like the way it looks, so I'm going to do it. So yeah, and then once that black wash is down, it's probably we're not far off finishing. Once the black wash is done, it'll be highlighting the gold. on the buttons and the sword and stuff like that. Then I might go and highlight some of the white. I'm not sure yet. So it's not something I normally do, but just because it takes time and I don't want to spend the time on it. But I've been doing it on some of my other painting and it does look nice, so I might make the effort and do it. But yeah, once that's done, then it will probably be there. Slim was the fellow who came up with the Chindits and drove the Japanese before him, with very little support from England since he was on the other side of the world. Yeah, now you're saying it, I think I saw like a mini documentary on it once. So I remember seeing something about the guy who made the Chindits. Irish Brigade had 550 men at Gettysburg. Colonel asked Pat Kelly what regiment they were soldiers out of. This is what's left of the Irish Brigade. They had 3,000 in June. They had 3,000 in June 1862, down to 500. That's crazy, isn't it? The toll the war took, isn't it? Right. I like Sherman's summary of his relationship with Grant. I helped him when he got drunk. He helped me when I went mad. Yeah. They were quite the pair, weren't they, Sherman and Grant? And Sheridan. They work well together. Slow and steady. That 3,000 was just from the three New York regiments. Add the approximate 2,000 from the 116th Pennsylvania and 28th Massachusetts, and still only 550 men by July 1863, and refused permission to recruit and resupply. Yeah, we've said about this, like with northern recruitment. It just seems such a shame to not recruit into that regiment, because you could take a very experienced regiment and keep its size up, and I think, imagine those troops of those regiments being given recruits and having to train them up on the march. Like, they would have so much valuable information to teach them, and they would be probably a lot more combat effective than some fresh new raised unit. So yeah, crazy.
Awesome. I've got to remember those knives on their belts. So I'll do the handles in gold. I've got to remember they're there. So I think I'll forget. The age-old choice, new recruits, are they to be replacements or reinforcements?
I think, yeah, I don't know. I think putting recruits into an experienced unit, it gives them better training, I think. Especially back then when they probably would have had basic training, if that, and then chucked straight into the regiment. Yeah, I think if I was a colonel back then, I think I would have wanted fresh recruits coming in to bolster my experienced unit rather than just raising another one. But then I guess it just didn't work back then like that. Too many people wanted to be a colonel, I guess, and wanted to just raise their own regiment. Oh, these sculpts are nice though. I'll have to... Next time I buy some models, I'll have to get some more Perry metals. I'm not going to buy some for a while, hopefully, as I want to get through my backlog. So their metals are just such nice poses. I'd like to get some sort of early war Confederates at some point. They have a nice selection of uniform. Right, let's paint this thing.
All right. The officer's coat as well, I think I said before, but I've gone for a really light grey. I think I'm just going to hit it with a non-wash or maybe a couple of non-washes. Just to darken it down a bit. I want it as a light grey, but not quite this way. Alright. I'll just do his sword sheath. Scabbard. The Union had far too many political colonels, men with no military training, but friends in high places. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I get vibes of, you know, rather than reinforcing regiments, you had these guys just coming in going, well, no, I want to run one, so I'm just going to set up a new one. So, yeah. Right, that is all the silver done, sort of, to a standard. I think the fact that regiments tended to be raised from localized-made replacements less common than ideally should be. Soldiers fought alongside neighbours, friends, and family. That's a plus. Yeah, that's a good point. If, you know, a company or something is raised from a county, they only want to accept people from that county. Yeah, because that's the thing. It's not like it wasn't a federal army, was it? It was a collection of state regiments. So yeah. So yeah, I guess like the US regulars during the war, I'm guessing they would have got replenished easy enough because they would have just taken recruits willy-nilly from any state. But yeah, if you were a New York state regiment, then yeah, you'd only take people. I guess I don't know how it works. Oh, but yeah, yes, 155th New York, raised from the Irish in Buffalo, one of the places that was an Irish majority, yet they didn't get replacements, but rather put into other regiments. Yeah, again, I don't know. It's something that it's like, you know, the Confederates seem to have replacements, whereas the reinforcements, whereas the Union tend to go the other way. But then maybe that's where you just have more crack Confederate regiments. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. Oh yeah, my officer's not got a sash on. Just realised that he's not modelled with a sash. Strange. Yeah, well. The Union was politically divided. Lincoln had to keep the war Democrats on board, hence Sickles. Yeah, very true. There was sort of higher up appointments due to. Also, I thought Dan Sickles. I thought Dan Sickles basically paid for his way by founding or basically putting together the Excelsior Brigade. Am I right in thinking that? Bunch of New York regiments. So he basically bought them, didn't he? And then I guess he got elevated because of political shenanigans. What time is it? Okay, we got a bit more time. Let's get on with this gold, I reckon. Just feeling a bit tired, but we got plenty of time to get on with some stuff. Right, let's pick these up. Again, these are all going to have gold buttons because I like the look of it.
gold belt buckle. Although I can't see this guy's belt buckle, but I will do the tips of the scabbards for the bayonet, because it does look nice.
Mahan and Cochrane was only given permission from ethnic brigades to get Irish sympathy for the Union, although Mahan did become good friends with Lincoln. Same with Siegel and the Germans. Ooh. Replacements went into existing regiments. Reinforcements were new units. Yeah.
I think I was saying it the other way around, but yeah.
Bit tedious. I'm sure it'll be worth it. Should probably put the brass plate on the cartridge boxes as well. They're not sculpted on these guys, but I've done it with my Confederates, where I just paint them on anyway. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I should be painting them on. Tedious but worth it. Sums up painting side of hobby for me. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of went for a phase of just doing quick and easy, but then I don't like. I find my painting wasn't looking great, and I don't know, if you've got the models and you're in the mood to, why not try do a nice paint scheme? Or try do as nice job as you can. So I am trying. And as these models are a delightful gift, then yeah, I'm going to make the effort, I think.
And these guys are a bit more standout uniform-wise than some of my other unions, so it'd be nice to make a bit of an effort with them. But yeah, I think
it's exhausting though. But we're there. Again, it's the curse of batch painting, right?
you batch paint all of these at one go, so it's a slog, but then you get them finished in the big batch.
Right, let's go to that.
I do need to paint this guy's drum as well at some point. I have searched up what colour I should be doing the drum, and it's not anything fancy, so just a blue drum with a red trim.
We know that is what they did. The only reason why Nugent was allowed to reform the Irish Brigade in October after being de-established in July was because of the significant loss of Irish support for Lincoln and the war. Yeah, very interesting. David said that's the thing about paint 6mm, medium tedium. Yeah.
Slightly smaller, so
although you're painting a lot more of them, aren't you? A different form of tedious. I batch paint a regiment at a time, means I can get a unit onto the table when I'm done. I used to just paint as many as I could stand. Yeah, Thomas, I'm at that. You know, I do a regiment. A while ago, I batch painted, like, I say a while ago, probably 3-4 years ago. I batch painted like 5 regiments at once. I've just realised I've not painted those buttons, have I? He's not got any on show, that's why. I batch painted like 5 regiments when I was doing a Confederate brigade, but they were all fairly similar. But that was tough. That was tough. Do you know what gets me? It's when I get to the rifles. Now, obviously, I'm painting different paint scheme now, so things are a little bit easier. But back when I was doing my old paint scheme, the rifles was real tedious to do. So it's just soul destroying doing like 125 Rifles.
But, yeah, at the moment I do a regiment at a time. Just because. I do have a bunch I need to get on with on my old paint scheme, which I just need to bite the bullet and do. I said it before, it's the leftover of the Iron Brigade, which I haven't finished. Which would be nice to get finished, actually, because I'd like to do a scenario out of the first day of Gettysburg with the Iron Brigade. So, nice to get that done. Yeah, at the moment it's trying to find the energy.
And with 6mm, a batch is 300 or 400. Yeah, that's
a lot. But again, with batch painting, it's sort of once you're done, it's done, isn't it? So it's like the lesser of two evils, maybe. And again, yeah, it's nice to batch paint what I do because
Like Thomas said, you've done a unit. You can base them. Done. They're on the table. Thomas says, for me, a batch is 12 cavalry mounted and dismounted, 18 artillery, or 24 infantry. Yeah, so my batches, yeah, it'd be 24 infantry. And then probably, well, 8 cavalry. And then, yeah, just, I don't know, a handful of artillery guns. I don't really, again, I batch paint infantry because that's what I've been painting a lot of. Artillery tends to be, I don't know, in groups of maybe 3 cannons or something. Obviously, we've done a big load in the live streams, but and as for the cavalry, yeah, it's I've just painted up some Napoleonic French, and I did them in 8s. So yeah, just trying to avoid burnout, you know. David said 5 regiments. That's a single unit for me. A brigade of 28 figures, at least 12 of them in my 6mm batches. Try to get his shoulder bars painted, and then his collar buttons. Don't forget them. So they look cool. Pretty sure there's some red in this collar. Yeah. Awesome. Here's how he's looking. Thomas says, my artillery is a battery of 4 guns with 4 crew and an officer and flag. I have begun to paint cavalry as the 12 mounted and the 12 dismounted in one sitting, but horses just take it out of me. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I've got like 4 cavalry regiments of Napoleonics. Now I've painted one. And then I've got a cavalry regiment of American Civil War sat there. So I've got 3 Napoleonic French and 1 American Civil War sat there. But what I'm doing with my Napoleonic French project is do like a regiment of infantry and then some cavalry, regiment of infantry, then some cavalry, and break it up that way. So, and also because I'm doing 8 horses, it's not as bad. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Right, we're at a point now where, do you know what I think I'm going to do? I can, if I've got the skill, which I don't think I've got. Let's see. I might just try dry brush the tops of the Havelock hats. Just because the white shirts, I'm worried, are a bit too not white. Let's see if I can just... I don't want to have to go layer paint the shirts, you know? Not something I want to do. Might get away with just a bit of brushing on the sleeves or something. Who knows? I don't, that's for sure. Should have done this at the very start, to be honest, dry brushing those white shirts, but I thought I could get away with it, and I'm just not so sure I like it now. I work on my command when I finish a brigade, so normally every 4 to 5 units other than artillery, because they are attached to a brigade or division, depending. Yeah, it's something I should be doing, that's for sure. I need command figures, I've just not done a lot of them. It's just perspective. When I did paint the big figs, I do batches then. Not as many figs, obviously. I did high elf force, mainly kit bashed horse archers, sort of elven Mongol horde. That's cool. That's cool. Right, I think that is looking better. Right, I've got a. Yeah, okay. Sort of worked. Just a little dry brush on the white shirts, and it sort of worked. Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid burnout really by doing. And again, it's nice having something like this unit here. The 14th Brooklyn. I've got some other chasseur style Zouaves in metal, which I think I'll do up as the 11th Indiana early war. But that, like, units like that is quite nice to do. Just take your time and sit down and do it. Whereas, yeah, if I was painting like 4 regiments of Union in standard issue uniform, then I might maybe, if I was mad enough, consider doing a big batch. But hundreds of different shades of blonde hair drove me nuts for the elves, should I say? Yeah. You got more willpower than me. I would just do them all the same. Tom said I have 3 artillery batteries to finish. Then I have some late Romans and rust to paint for pillage. Oh, nice. Yeah. I've obviously I did that big batch of artillery a few months back now, and I need to do the commands. I've got a Confederate commands that we put together. I've got them. I want to chuck a flag on them, but yeah, right. Just put my hand in paint. That's a command I can use for artillery, which I don't know if I would need more than 1 artillery command at the moment, but that's what I need to sit down and just have a play with and start rattling through some commands. I think once these guys are done, I've got those warlord commands to do, and then I think I might do some more. What I need to do is get my models out, get my collection out, and think about if I was going to do a game, what I need. I definitely need probably 4 brigade commands at least per side, and then some divisional commands, maybe, and a core command each. So I need to do that. So core commands, I know what I'll do. I'll do Longstreet and Reynolds. Divisional command, I'll do Hood, and then obviously Wadsworth. And then as for brigades, then I could figure out, you know. The Confederate ones I'd be less worried about. I don't know why, but I would just do some some troops on foot, and then just use sort of generic flag bearers with just Army of Northern Virginia flags as them, and just have them as brigade commands. So I've got it figured out. I just need to get on and do it. And in theory, they're easier to do. You know, I could do 1 strip could be a command base. So all this here could be a brigade, division, and corps command for an army. so I could do that in a set of streams. I'll probably do Union first though, and a Union will. I've got more or less all mounted, so. I've done the 69th Pennsylvania in their early war Zouave uniforms just to make them stand out. Green trim Zouave chasseur uniforms. Did they wear kepis or fezzes? Because yeah, the ones I've got were with kepis, which I know the 11th Indiana wore, but it is sort of early war, and they're sort of. Oh, sorry. They sort of wear grey in the 11th of Indiana, which is doable. Something I can do quite easy. Army Corps and command bases are difficult. It ain't easy making a standard Bacchus 6mm general look like Lee or Jackson rather than just General A and other. Yeah, nice. Have you ever used Adler, David? Because is it Adler? I think it's Adler. I've got a box of them sat down somewhere from when I did my 6mm project years ago, and I've just never revisited it. It just didn't work. I had an idea. I spent only like 40 quid on Bacchus, and then what's the word? Yeah, I spent like 40 quid on like some deals and stuff, and I enjoyed it. I thought they were fun, but just didn't work out for what I wanted. And then like maybe I could have repurposed them for Ultra Freedom, but now I quite like the idea of 2mm for Ultra Freedom. Although all my bases I've done for Ultra Freedom now, I kind of glued them all on, primed them, and I didn't include mounted commanders. So I've done a brigade base with like 4 or 5 regiments on there, and that's it. And I probably should have put a mounted commander on there as well, which I didn't do, and I'm kind of annoyed about, but oh well. Kepis. The 69th Pennsylvania Zouaves were wiped out mid to late 1862. Okay. So I could use my Zouaves, my ones I've got as the 69th then. Oh, so they were part of the 69th. So they weren't a whole regiment. I see. Dave said it's match sizes. 6mm is different between manufacturers. Yeah, I 100% agree. Adler wouldn't look right next to Bacchus at all, in my opinion. I was using Bacchus infantry and artillery, and then I think I had a load of cavalry in Adler, so I just used them. Whereas Bacchus is designed quite stout and firm and solid, Adler was just really flimsy and they just kept breaking. They were a nightmare to paint. Just because they just kept breaking off and it was annoying. But yeah. Right, I'm gonna end the stream there because we're at 10 o'clock. But that has been an enjoyable stream. We've actually done some painting. I feel like I've just chatted the whole time, but we've actually done some painting, which is a miracle. So I think next time it's just a matter of hitting it with a Nuln wash. Hit a Nuln wash on there, on the metallics and the white. And then, I can't stop yawning now. And then go in and highlight the gold, possibly highlight the white. I've got to paint my drummer boy's drum, and then triple check the officer's uniform I'm happy with. I'll hit his grey uniform with a couple of coats of Nuln, I think, just to see if I can dull it down a bit. And then we're there. And that's them done. So next stream we could be done. We could be done next stream. And then yeah. And then I'll need to get a command base for these guys and then get them on the table. I might do I want to look at trying to do a little game. I need to order a webcam, which will probably be payday. And then we'll show the table off again. Let's go show the table off. Let's go show it off again. The zoom. It looks really rubbish right now. But I don't know what the quality is like, but of the camera. But marching down that road is currently the 14th Brooklyn. So yeah, we'll try. I want to get the camera set up properly, and then yeah, we'll try to get the camera set up properly, and then I'll try do a game stream maybe where we figure out the rules to Black Powder. So yeah, and then maybe we'll do like the defense of Henry House Hill or something, or the fight for Henry House Hill. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Get these guys on the table and roll some dice, see how they do. So yeah. Possibility for chat versus Matt games. Yeah, we can figure it out. I'm up for that. I need to start playing with these stuff, and I want to learn the Black Powder rule sets again. I'm looking to play some Napoleonics with my mate, so learning the base Black Powder rules is going to help me. So and yeah, we'll try to do some chat ones. Could potentially do that with Sharks Practice as well. We could do that. Sharks Practice I'd like to play as well, but I think for now I'll try to do some Black Powder. Do I? David said, "Do I have a Facebook page for photos?" Yes, I do. I do have a Facebook page. I'm trying to think how it works. If not, yeah, you can find me on King Matt Superior on Facebook, and you can send me photos. I know that because that's been done before. I think my page is set, so I don't know. I barely use my Facebook page. I'm bad like that, but check it out. If not, yeah, feel free to share some. Send them over to me. Yeah. So yeah, I'll end the stream there. All going well, I will be about next Sunday. I'm actually away Saturday night, and I'll be getting back home Sunday midday. I just don't know how the day's going to pan out, but I'll post. I'll do a short on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook to say I am on today. So if you don't hear anything from me, then I won't be about. But I all going well, as planned. I'll be on next Sunday. We'll get these finished, and then yeah, we'll move on. So as always, appreciate everyone who's come on. Thomas, Robert, David, Blake, Lanschnecht. Sorry, I don't know your actual name. Also, who else have we missed? I don't think we missed anyone else. Nope, I got it all. Mark, I'll say thanks to Mark as well, even though I know he wasn't here. He's busy in the cinema watching a rerun of Lord of the Rings, but fair play. Yes, I'll have a look into the Facebook page anyway, David. But yes, thank you very much everyone watching. I really appreciate it. If you're, I appreciate everyone watching this live. If you're watching this on YouTube back on replay, fair play for getting this far. To everyone, if you want to go check out the playlists for this live stream, so you can check out everything else we've done, which is artillery, cavalry, and then some infantry. So yeah, I appreciate everyone watching. Thank you very much, and have the good rest of your Sunday night. Have a good week ahead of us, and I'll see you all this time next Sunday.